Worker Environmental Awareness of the 11th Street East Tracy Overhead Bridge Replacement Project by the Hannah Group. This video will cover overview of the environment, overview of the cited wildlife, what you should do when you encounter endangered wildlife. Survey of environment. The 11th Street East Tracy Overhead Project site and vicinity are composed of habitats where sensitive biological resources have been identified. Located in the Central Valley, Tracy has a Mediterranean climate, sitting in the middle of infertile and fertile lands. There have been recent increased development pressure as the San Francisco Bay Area's population growth increases vigorously. Tracy currently stands as only the second city to uphold state standards of environmental maintenance. GWPs must all be followed while working on the East Tracy 11th Street Bridge Replacement Project. Confine all ground disturbances, project vehicles, and equipment to approved work areas. 2. Use only approved access roads. 3. Keep fluid spill containment and cleanup materials readily available. 4. Clean up and report all hazardous materials spills immediately. 5. Do not litter. 6. Do not bring pets, firearms, hunting, or fires onto the project site. They are prohibited. 7. Do not discharge water into unapproved areas. 8. Do not feed or harass wildlife. 9. Observe speed limits on dirt access roads of or less than 25 miles per hour. 10. Implement and maintain erosion control best management practices. It is also very important to check equipment for wildlife who may shelter in the warm equipment overnight. At the end of the day, pick up any trash that may attract wildlife. Fire prevention. Fire prevention should be obeyed, especially during the heat of summer or near grasslands. Smoking should be limited to designated smoking areas. Cigarette butts and cigars should be disposed of appropriately and not left on the ground or buried. Provide fire extinguishers near all welding, smoldering, or other sources of ignition, and keep fire extinguishers easy to see and reach in the case of an emergency. Be sure to also follow any fire prevention laws regulated by the Union Pacific Railroad Company. Environmental impacts and mitigation measures. In order to minimize construction impacts, the following should be observed. 1. Pipes should be capped and trenches should be covered in order to prevent burrowing owl, San Joaquin kit foxes, and other small birds and mammals from nesting or falling in or otherwise getting trapped. 2. During active construction, open trenches need escape ramps so burrowing owl, kit foxes, and mammals won't get trapped. 3. Ground disturbances should be minimized to lessen the need for restoration. 4. Avoid the possible disturbance of nesting birds by staying at least 50 feet away. Let the biological monitor clear the area before you begin work. 5. Stormwater runoff must not contain hazardous waste or debris that could affect the biological resources. Please report any wildlife found in the work area. The following are cited wildlife of the work environment. The Swainson's hawk. The Swainson's hawk nests are generally found in scattered trees or along riparian systems adjacent to agricultural fields or pastures. But the species is also known to nest in tall shrubs and trees in proximity to development near foraging habitat. There are 2 color variations, light morph and dark morph. A protective buffer zone, as determined by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, will be established around any active nest site until the young have fledged as determined by the qualified biologist. No construction will be allowed in the buffer zone. On the site, you may see the hawk foraging over the agricultural fields around the site. The western burrowing owl. The owl is not a shy bird and may be found nesting on the railroad tracks by the agricultural fields. Burrowing owls nest in ground burrows, often occupying old ground squirrel burrows and badger dens. They are known to use artificial burrows such as abandoned pipes and culverts. They are commonly perched on fence posts or on top of mounds outside his burrow. The owls forage in adjacent grasslands and agricultural fields. If an active burrowing owl burrow within 500 feet of the project disturbance area, then a no disturbance buffer will be established. Fencing shall be installed at a 250-foot radius from the occupied burrow to create a no disturbance buffer, and no entry signs will be posted in English and Spanish at the fence line. No construction will be allowed in the buffer zone. The American badger. The American badger is generally nocturnal. However, in remote areas with no human encroachment, they are routinely observed foraging during the day. They prefer grasslands and open areas with grasslands, which can include parklands, farms, trees, areas with friable soil and a supply of rodent prey. Dens are typically larger than the ground squirrel and other animal burrows. Their dens range from about 4 to 10 feet in depth and 4 to 6 feet in width. After verification that a potential den is unoccupied, it will be excavated and backfilled by hand to ensure no badgers are trapped. The San Joaquin kit fox. The San Joaquin kit fox may be attracted to trash on site. There are heavy fines if injured on the work site. Generally nocturnal, however, in remote areas with no human encroachment, they will venture out during the day. They are the size of a house cat, with big ears, a long bushy tail, and furry toes, difficult to spot with their buff, tan, or yellowish-gray fur. Common habitats are sagebush and saltbush. They can be found in urban and agricultural areas as well. Dens are typically in large ground squirrel or other animal burrows. After verification that a potential den is unoccupied, it will be excavated and backfilled by hand to ensure the kit foxes are not trapped. Nesting raptors and migratory birds. Any present birds or nests in the trees need to be removed. Some confirmed birds of the work environment include the California horned lark, red-winged blackbird, red-tailed hawk. During February 1st to July 31st, location of any nests will be identified. A protective buffer zone around any nest will be established, and no construction will be allowed in the buffer zone. Resource monitors. You should be familiar with your designated biologist, who will advise, carry out, and monitor any of the following matters. 1. Issue a stop work order in the event of a non-compliance situation until a resolution is achieved. 2. Advise the project owner and construction and operation managers on the implementation of the biological resource conditions of the certification. 3. Clearly mark sensitive biological resource areas and inspect these areas at appropriate intervals for compliance with regulatory terms and conditions. 4. Notify the project owner and the construction project manager, CPM, of any non-compliance with any biological resources conditions of certification. 5. Respond directly to inquiries of the CPM regarding biological resource issues. 6. Maintain written records for inclusion in the monthly compliance report and the annual compliance report. 7. Coordinate with resource agencies for compliance of protection measures. There will also be a biological monitor who will be on site during earthwork activities and clear areas before any and all ground disturbances begin. There will also be a biological monitor who will be on site during earthwork activities and will clear areas before any and all ground disturbance begins. The biological monitor have the authority to stop work if any violation of mitigation measures occur in the project area. Federal and state laws. Lastly, Federal Endangered Species Act provides protection for federally listed, threatened, and endangered plant and animal species. It also prohibits the destruction of habitat critical to these species' recovery. The California Endangered Species Act is similar to the Federal Act. It prohibits the take, hunt, pursue, catch, capture, or kill of state-listed endangered and threatened wildlife. Migratory Bird Treaty Act prohibits the take or possession of migratory birds and eggs and parts. California Fish and Game Code prohibits the take of protected plants and animals in California in areas designated as significant habitat. The Clean Water Act oversees protection of jurisdictional wetlands and waterways. Violation of state and/or federal environmental laws can result in fines as high as $100,000 and up to 1 year in jail. Violations can involve corporate penalties as well as individual penalties for the person responsible for the violation. You will receive a card of images of the cited wildlife to carry while you are on the work site, in case you encounter wildlife. We have now completed the environmental awareness video for the East Tracy 11th Street Bridge Replacement Project. It is important to follow all protocol outlined in this video. Thank you. Also, please be sure to sign into the login sheet to confirm you have completed the video.